Welcome to Open Range. I'm your host, Gary Emineth. We're going to be talking to State Representative Jeff Hoverson from District 3, Minot, Republican. And he reached out to me after a couple episodes and shows we did last week where we had Paul Henderson on, who is a conservative in the Republican Party, vice chairman, and Sandy Sanford, former chairman. Of course, Rick Becker announced on the show that he was going to be running for legislature. And Jeff goes, I got some things in my mind. I need to get on and talk to your viewers. And I said, come on, when can you do it? Here we are. So Jeff, welcome to Open Range.
Thank you. If you're going to put Paul on there, I say, you got to put me on then, because that's only fair.
That's totally fair.
Paul's actually one of the main guys that got me interested in politics. I didn't even know what a district was before I ran.
So Paul Henderson, who we had on earlier, he's a vice chairman, been involved since the early 90s, conservative, libertarian. We talked about Ron Paul. I love Paul. He and the wife Donna is a state representative he served with. So you're a representative for Minot, District 3, Republican. Why don't you tell, before we dig into this stuff that we want, you got a lot of stuff in your mind. Tell our viewers a little bit about yourself so we make sure that those have never, you've been on before, but in case they haven't, don't know who you are, tell our viewers who's Jeff Hoverson.
Jeff Hoverson, platform Republican. That's a big deal nowadays. And I'm running again for House of Representatives, District 3 in Minot. And I'm happy husband, father of 6, and pastor. Full-time. So Lutheran Brethren pastor.
So you just said you're running again. That's an announcement.
Yeah.
So you announced you're running for re-election.
I just announced it right now.
That's your announcement. So is this your second term then?
Third.
So third term. So you've been elected twice before. In fact, one of the races you won by how many votes?
One.
One vote.
One vote.
So when people say, well, one vote doesn't matter, you won your last election by one vote.
Yes, and it was running against Pat Finken.
Running against Pat Finken. Pat Finken put all that money against it. They were after you because you're one of those principled conservative. You're ultra-right Ronald Reagan, crazy wacko Ronald Reagan Republican.
I actually believe the government's more part of the problem than the solution. So
that's a good place to start. So Jeff, so you just announced you're going to be running. Talk to us a little bit about, now that we're on that subject, let's talk about the fact that you are running and just the process of there, because so many viewers out there, there's term limits. You're only going to be able to run maybe one more time, or is this? And so consequently, we need people to run for office. And that's Democrat, Republicans, rhinos, conservatives, everybody needs, if you got a passion and you believe in better government, you need to run. Talk to about how you got to this decision for your third term.
We have a good bench in District 3, but the good, solid conservatives are not ready to, they have different reasons in their life. There's some really solid people that are coming down the pipe in District 3. So I figured if we can hold, we got our district over the 8 years from purple to red, and we want to hold it. We are probably one of the top 3 conservative, as a 3 of us, Lori Van Winkle and Bob and Paulson and myself. We are probably in the top 3 of the most conservative district in the state. And if we can hold that for one more term, then I think we have a really good bench kicking in for a lot of years. And so anyway, but my main concern is that our government's getting too big, and we need people that understand and believe that the government's too big and go in wanting to shrink the government, not working with the other side and all this kind of stuff. This is not the time for that. This is not the time to dance. It's a time, we still need fighters leading the way. And I'm not even claiming I'm the best fighter, but we have good fighters out there that we need. They're the ones that need to be leading our party. They're the ones that need to be leading. I think we have a good fighter leading on the party side, but I'm talking about in the legislature now. We need fighters leading on the chairs of the legislature and the majority leader and stuff like that from our side, because our side is the minority. And now you're thinking, oh, I thought the Republican Party was the majority. No, the Republican Party is the majority, but by our side, I'm talking about the platform. Excuse me, I'll shut this off. Sorry, Gary.
So you're talking really about the conservatives that you're saying, when you talk about that you're a platform conservative, you're saying we're in the minority. Right. Now, do you think we're in the minority from the population side? So when we always pick on Pat Finken on this show, so one of the days I'll try to have him on, but whatever. But the point of it is, when people put their finger in the air, see what the people want, they say that's what the people want. That's why they want us to spend. They want big government. They want people being taken care of. But you're saying you believe the people are with you on the majority of people on the conservative principled side, when it comes to election, or are you just saying those that serve in the legislature that are elected, we're a small minority, or both?
I don't know.
Okay.
Honestly, it doesn't matter, because if you're running with an R by your name, then that needs to come first. People say, well, I represent the people. True, but that's second. Number one, do you represent what you're running on? So if you're running on the Republican platform, you need to represent that. And to me, it doesn't matter how many people are behind me, because every district is going to have people from all over the spectrum. So when you say you're representing the people, I just ask, which corner of your district are you talking about? Your buddies that you hang around, is that your people? So yeah, like I said, our district has been Democrat. We have a railroad district in our district. We have been purple. When I jumped in, it was purple, and now we're really red. We're truly red. And so I want to address a fallacy that a lot of people think that there's 80% agreement. You hear that a lot, especially by the lukewarm people in the middle. And they're nice people, by the way. I respect all of them, but I have good friends that are in the middle because they believe that North Dakota nice is somehow more Christian, and it's not. The Bible says be kind, but that's different than North Dakota nice, because North Dakota nice takes out the fighters, and we need the fighters. We're not 80% in agreement with the Republican Party, and people need to understand that. That's a fallacy. We're not even close. I would say we're 80% the other way in disagreement, but everything that matters on all the things from a Christian worldview, the role of government, shrinking the government, climate change, parents' rights, property rights, on we go. As conservatives are losing constantly. And so to think that it's the smart strategy to move to working with the other side of the Republican Party, first of all, they don't need us. Many of them despise us. They have absolutely zero interest in working with us. So why in the world, what do we have to gain by working with them? People say, we don't want the Democrats to get back into control. You want the Democrats to define how we operate? I say we have a vision, we have a platform, we have a mission already laid out. We don't need to redo it. We just need to act on it. And so that's where the fallacy comes in. So I would say that while some people would say we're the ultra right compared to the Democrats, compared to the liberal Republicans, we probably do look ultra right, but compared to the platform, we are actually the ones in the center. So this debate is all about where's center? Where is the center line? And if you put the center on the platform, that's who we are. If you put the center on the Republican Party, and I'm talking about legislators, yeah, then you could say that we're far right. And we're about 18 away from being a real threat. You need 48 for a vote, and we are gaining. Our group has met ever since Rick Becker started 12 or more years ago, and it's growing. But the problem is it doesn't look like it's growing because it's still not 48 in the House and 25 in the Senate. Because we aren't winning. We're losing property. We're losing. And you know what the biggest fear of mine is, Gary? Is that people don't understand how bad things really are.
So let's talk about this for a second. We got a few minutes before the break. Let's talk about what do you mean by a fighter, because you're saying that in the party that, and let's just ignore the Democrats because this is a discussion about in the party and control of the legislature, because you don't have Democrat votes. So there's 47 districts times 2 because there's 2 legislators. That makes 47, 94. And so you got to get to 48 is what you're saying. To have a majority when it comes to passing legislation that would be conservative in principle. And you're saying that you need 18 more conservatives to get over the hump, that you're going to have a conservative platform that will adhere to literally the party platform, which frankly is the same. It's been the same platform since I was an executive director back in 1985. I was the executive director of the Republican Party. It goes back a long time, 40 years. The platform is the same. They whittled it down from, let's say, 30 pages to 20 to 10. There was a point that they said, let's get it down to about 6 bullet points. You know why they want to do that, Jeff? Why do you think they want to do that? They don't have to stand for anything. Then I can get elected and say, hey, I'll stand in those 6 things, but the other 40, we're out of here. So that's your point.
Good point.
That's your point, is we have a majority of people in America, in North Dakota and America, that are with us on these issues. But the moderates within our party demonize the conservatives.
Yeah.
I've watched them mock them.
Yeah. Yep.
And you're just saying, we just stand by the platform.
And I say, we can have all the fighters we want, but it won't make a difference until we hit 48. That's just the bottom line. So it's really the elections are where the front line of the battle has to take place now. And that's why we have to wake up people to the reality.
I want to talk about some of these specifics. We're going to go to the break and stuff, which I think is fascinating because when I was an executive, not joking, but I was an executive director in 1985 through 88, that's when I ran into Kevin Kramer. Minot was fairly Republican, about half and half, but the Republicans were very liberal. And Minot's become the bastion of conservatism, and that's what you're talking about, the fighter.
Yes.
And what do you mean by a fighter? Because I think we need to try to get along better, but what is a fighter? I like a little fight once in a while. I like a little discussion, and the moderates don't like to debate the issues, and they like to call themselves a conservative, but when you lay out those principles, they'll say, maybe I don't agree with, I'm with you on 80%, and your argument is, no, you're with me on 20%. And that's the argument you're making. But before that, I'll get to those issues. What do you mean by a fighter?
I don't mean be mean. Okay, I'm not talking about be a bunch of meanies and you can still be a Christian and be a fighter. But I think what the problem is that people consider fighting not Christian. And so the moderates try to pull the Christian card to say, you need to be a better Christian and what they really mean is be more North Dakota nice. And I'm all for North Dakota nice, just not in politics. We don't have a lot of time or room for North Dakota nice right now because we are frankly in a battle. Whether we want to admit it or not, there's a division in the Republican Party. I would rather accept the division, not pretend that we're 80% in agreement, but recognize that we are not, and it's a battle. It's a battle over things that really matter. We don't just vote for building a bridge on a highway. Again, we vote for things like size of government, role of government, Christian worldview, shrinking the government, climate change, property rights, parental rights, on and on we go with things that really matter in people's lives. So by being a fighter, I'm just mean the leader should be making everybody uncomfortable, including their own team. That's what I mean by fighter. I don't mean being stupid or being mean, but you should be like, okay, take Trump for an example. Everybody would agree that Trump is a fighter. So we shouldn't be surprised when you get a fighter leading, that things are happening. Okay, the border is being taken care of. And we could make a whole list of what Trump's accomplished. But guess what else is happening? People on his team are upset with him. They're nervous. They're leaving. Marjorie Taylor Greene is leaving, has left the party. Yeah, that's what happens when you have a fighter leading. But where we're at in North Dakota, and I think once we start to the people get a handle on how bad things really are, both policy-wise and budget-wise, and I have some examples that I can give as well. I don't know if you want me to give that, Gary.
Well, I want to go to the slide here in a few minutes, but I think really what you're talking about is being a warrior and as a Christian, and we look at Jesus, but we also say, hey, he's from the lineage of David. He's going to be king on the throne. And we talk about David in the Bible. David was like a king, but he was like one of the greatest warriors ever.
Yeah.
So being a warrior is going into battle. Yeah. And we're not talking about pulling out a sword, but we are talking about debating, discussion, and working on issues and bringing energy, not attacking people personally, but having rigorous debate and go through issues.
The elections are the front line of the battle right now. And you're exactly right. We had opportunities when I lost by 1 last time. There were people that talked to me about some personal things of my opponent that I could have used. And I said, no, if I have to win on personal, grimy, dirty attacks, that's not worth winning to me. I want to win. I want to fight on the issues and I want to fight hard. I have plenty of people that will hit me square in the face, but if they're accurate about my view, fire away. Let's fight. But no, personal tax is not.
So let's go to the chart. You have a chart that you're talking about. Are we getting our money's worth on taxes? Let's take a look at what that means. I'd like you to just talk through that for the viewers. Most of you got big, massive screens at home, so you want to zoom in, and we could possibly take this slide and make it available on the Open Range Facebook page if you want to look at it. I'll post it up there. But let's take a look at this and walk me through.
This is done by a guy that is not only was a fighter, but also had a lot of smarts too. And it's always nice when you get both. I think of Rick Becker that way. He's a fighter, but he's also smart. And Bob Hale from Minot, he died. now, but he was a behind the scenes fighter, and he did a lot of research. And you might disagree with Bob's positions, but nobody can disagree on the numbers that he in his
So
projections.
let's talk to what are these numbers? We got two columns highlighted in yellow.
And I want to go to the bottom. If you go to the
very bottom line, you're saying?
Because the real point I want to make actually is that Bob was concerned in 2011. Okay, the far right there is 2011, and then the far left is 1995. So in his time, he was very concerned, as reflected from the question at the top, are we getting our money's worth from the taxes we pay? Because from 1995 to 2011, the increase in government spending, by the way, government spending is one good measure of determining the size of government, is by how much it spends, the budget. From 1995 to 2011, it went from 6,000, I think it was 6,000 to 11,000 per, or I'm sorry, no, I was wrong. 11,000 to 27,000 per family of four, which is really a good way to measure. So 11,000 to 27,000, Bob Hale was striking the alarm. He was banging the gong, trying to wake people up. You guys realize how much our government has grown. This is ridiculous. Republicans, stop growing the government. 11 to 27,000. Okay, so here's my point. It's not on the chart, but you can do the math. Just take 20 billion, divide it by the population, divided by 4, and you have, guess how much you have per family of 4 now? Gary, you don't take a guess?
I'd say it's probably 80,000.
That's the best guess I've had so far. It is 100,000.
100,000.
So our government right now is spending $100,000 per family of 4. That's more. Our average household income is in families 60,000.
60,000.
So the government is spending $40,000 more per family of 4 than the average household income of a family of 4.
So the question you're having is, are we getting our money's worth? So for a family of 4, our state, $20 billion budget, that's federal dollars, state dollars.
Yeah.
Because it's grown, we can look at our general fund and what that growth has occurred. We have gone from, what were those years?
Well,
give me the years again.
Okay, so 95 to 2011, it went from 11,000 to 27.
27,000.
And now from 2011 to now, 2025, it's 100,000.
14 years. So it went from 27 to 100,000.
Yes.
So that is almost fourfold in spending.
And you know what's worse, Gary? You could blame the Democrats in 2011. Guess who you have to blame now? The Republicans.
The conservative Republicans can't get enough votes.
It's a Republican-dominated legislature.
Yeah, well, it's only got an 85 to 15% majority. I need to have more Democrats out. Let me ask you a question. You think, and I'd like to ask this to Democrats, do you think they should be spending more? Your Democrat colleagues in the legislature, would they say we're not spending enough in your mind?
I don't see much of a difference between the Democrats and the
majority Republicans.
Wow. Not a whole. I think what they spend it on is different.
I see.
So I think we deal with a lot more cronyism, and we think that we can take the money and do workforce development and invest money for the people. In comparison to them, my views are very radical. For example, how big of a percentage do you think the government, just take education. How much of the budget is education, would you guess? Give me a fraction.
Yeah. 33rd.
Yeah, it's a third, right on. So a third. I don't think we should even have a Department of Education. We have 88 people in the Capitol, and constitutionally we should have maybe 8. We're 10 times too big.
So you're saying the Department of Education in North Dakota has 88 staff? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, DPI in the Capitol.
88 people. Is that just to administer programs? I had Levi Bachmeyer on a while back. We talked. He's going to visit all the districts.
Yeah.
But underneath Kirsten Baszler, that's now out in a Trump administration.
Well, even before, what she did that was good was she took out the regulatory aspect, but she didn't shrink the programs and the great ideas and the innovation like Burgum had. Let's innovate. You got to in my mind, let the locals innovate. We're going to be way better off. Kids are going to be better off. Our culture is going to be better off. Education's going to go up. It's going to cost less if we shoot 90% of it back to the locals and let the parents and the local school boards teach the kids. And really constitutionally, all that we really are supposed to do is make sure they have a uniform system of schools, like the building and some of the finances, which an 8-people office could handle.
One, the other thing is I am going to have on next week Joe Herringer, who's in charge of the land trust fund or the board. And then we got like $8 billion because of all the state-owned lands. And a good portion ends up in the education related to the state lands. The Constitution requires it. But so your point is we've been spending out of control, and this has been Republicans in control. Yeah. That's why we need fighters, is what you're saying, as opposed to let's get along Republicans.
And what we need is the people to understand what's going on, how bad it is, and to send fighters. And if you just send somebody that understands the role of government, and even at the very least, stop asking about abortion in the Second Amendment. That's the low-hanging fruit. Every Republican's going to say they're pro-life. Every Republican's going to say they're Second Amendment. But we need to ask, do you believe the government is too big? And are you going in to shrink it? Now, maybe they don't want to shrink it in the way I do or as much as I do. But Gary, wouldn't it be wonderful if we had platform Republicans who were debating that and then would say, okay, whatever shrinkage we want, we know that when we go to the floor, we're going to win.
So we got the platform of the Republican Party scrolling through the screen. They're talking about limited government, personal responsibility, lower taxes. These are all principles that everybody should run on, and it's at the NDGOP website that you could find. And the party has a platform. They have a convention in March in Minot where this is all going to be debated, and people need to come get involved and see how radical the party is, if they indeed are.
Well, and a lot of the left-leaning Republicans despise the platform openly, but adding to the platform, we've had principles too that's come from the districts. And that was like 50 statements that were bolstered out of the platform. I think when Schaefer was in, they chopped that down to 8. And that was a lot of the chopping. And I guess I get my terms mixed up if that was platform or principle.
Well, we're going to go to the break. We come back. Let's talk on that a little bit more, because I think that's very important for people to understand that the demonization that happens on the right, which to me is center right. We're talking to Jeff Hoverson, Republican, District 3, Minot. So, Jeff, before the break, we're just talking a little bit about platform resolutions, et cetera. So the parties had resolutions that used to fight 50 people on the committee prior to convention. We'd have 40, 50, 60 resolutions. And those were meant to be very time-stamped towards what's going on in the country, in the state, in those short windows. Maybe it's should we have water and pay for water projects in Fargo with the oil money in the West? That'd be a resolution that would be battled. Principles or the platform are long, like limited government, personal responsibility, and just general things about this is where we stand. So when the legislature, so we have the platform up there that is on the NDGOP website, which will be part of the discussion debate in Minot at the end of March, which is where the convention will be had. Those are important things that happen and to get input from the grassroots in the Republican circle. And so what's your thought on, so a lot of those are general principles, right?
Yeah.
But let's talk, so we've been talking fiscally. Where do you feel our country's headed on other issues that are not conservative?
So I'll use the word freedom. So in a sense, we've covered free market.
Okay.
Republicans are supposed to believe in free market, but freedom applies to a lot of other categories. And I think that when you look at a republic versus a socialistic, I think a lot of people don't understand that. Even legislators, we've had bills that were clearly socialist. And I've heard, and I won't mention a name, but I've heard a strong Republican legislator stand up on the floor and say, this is not socialism. And it's, okay, no, it's socialism. And so on the broader sense, here's what I'm worried about in North Dakota. We already last 2 sessions made daycare a big deal, that the government is going to get out of its role and step into the parent's role of taking care of children in daycare, and they're going to help subsidize that. Okay, so that's cradle. And then you've got taking care of the other end. So we call socialism cradle to grave. And if the government is involved, taken care of, et cetera, from the time a baby is born till the day they die, nursing homes, et cetera, you have socialism. And what's happening now reflects what's happening in North Dakota. Right now there's a movement afoot to fight again for free lunch. Everybody's excited. They think for some reason that the kids have been starving for all these years and we need to have a free lunch program, or contraband, because really what's a term other than free? But anyway, it's being stolen is what it is. It's being stolen from the taxpayer But here's really the social problem that comes with that. So imagine a parent now, and by the way, you should know that already families in poverty already get free lunch and breakfast. We passed, and I was there, I fought against it, but we passed already 200% of poverty for free lunch. Do you know what the poverty line is? It's about 30, it was then, it was about 30,000. 200%, 70,000. So we've already passed that a family of four that makes $70,000 or less already gets free lunch, and that's not even counting the federal stuff. Okay, so what are we going to do now? Why the cry for free lunch? Because we want free lunches to go to families that make above $70,000 a year? Really? Think of the implications of that. Now, the first thing I'm going to hear is somebody going to say, you're a legislator, Jeff, and you guys get lunches. For 4 months, you're right. And guess what? Take them away. In fact, I'll bring the bill if you want me to. Craft a bill. I'll carry a bill that says legislators do not get free lunches, if that'll make you happy. But that's not the problem of socialism right now. Socialism means that a parent can have a baby, have subsidized daycare, which is probably going to go up. They can take their baby to daycare, and then they can go to school, and they can be all taken care of for 18 years, no matter how much income the parent makes. Do you see how close we're getting to from cradle to grave? And that's why this issue is bad. It's because a lot of what it taps into and represents.
So, Jeff, I think this is very insidious in what you're speaking to, because the argument from those that say everybody should get it, they say the families that are making under 70 grand, the other kids aren't getting free lunches. So we're demeaning those students that are getting that free milk in the morning and that free lunch. And it's insidious in that they use an argument that, just think of the self-esteem we're hurting those poor welfare families.
Yeah.
That's the way the left thinks, because it's really a bigger argument, is your point. We want, the socialists, the liberals want everybody on the government dole. Why? So that they become dependent on the government grows, and we might as well all start wearing uniforms.
Yeah.
We could be like Mao, and we could all get in our nice little uniforms and play communist China here.
Before the Republicans get all puffy in their head to think that, oh, that's just the Democrats. Sorry. We like the gravy train too, because we want to pick winners and losers in the corporate world. We want this industry or that corporation. So we're easily, you guess how many budget bills, a budget versus policy. There's two types of bills, budget and policy. If a policy bill fails, it's over. But if a budget bill fails, it's not over. But yet Pat Finken and those guys, they'll put out false ads that will say, these guys that voted no on this budget bill want to defund. They did it to Rick, Jeff Magrum, Ertel, they did it to me.
That's a better, brighter
deceptive.
fund, they call it, where they attack conservatives, and they did that, where they went after a bunch of legislators.
With lies.
And with untruth, half-truths, because of voting on a particular bill, which they know it can come back.
Because a budget bill only goes back to the committee to get redone. So if I see a $20 million museum in a bill, even if it's for the military, I might vote no, because I don't want the museum in there. That doesn't mean I want to defund the military. But yet there are postcards coming out twice a week for a while there. Hoverson wants to defund this and defund that. But the larger point, which I got away from now, what was I saying?
It's really about the socialism and the movement in the free lunch program, where we become committed to the government, cradle to grave. They want us dependent on it so that they can control what we do and think and live.
Thank you. And I want to say I've been in 8 years, 4 sessions now. Guess how many budget bills have failed, have got voted down in record growth? I think it's 0. I remember one.
I would guess.
I think I remember one that got sent back to the Ethics Commission, they hardly.
That would be a good place to fund. If they're going to put any money in, they ought to put some ethics money behind the ethics,
but it was
with
so
some
small.
teeth in it.
It was so small.
Yeah.
But 300 million, 600 million. Last time we had our first time in North Dakota history, I believe, we had where one line was $1 billion. Hardly any discussion. Pass, 60-30, 60-30, whatever.
And so when you got 94 legislators, 60-30, you're saying the conservatives is 25 to 30 of that, because you need to get 18 more. And they just rubber stamp it, because So let me ask a question. Do you think there's going to be leadership change in the House this time? Leader LaForge?
I don't think so. I think we're going to see one more session very similar to last time. And then we're going to see how if term limits survive the ballot, then half gets wiped out. All the even districts get wiped out.
So let's talk about that for a second. So where are you at in this? So the legislators, the people passed 2-1. We want term limits.
Yeah.
And then now the legislature who's in there in power saying, let's put this back to the people because I don't think they really knew what they were voting on.
Yeah, I've been pro term limits. And whether you are or not, it is into the Constitution. It should be the people put it in. It should be the people that take it out. Now, I don't know. It's going to be on the ballot. That fight's over, but I'm pro term limits. We could do nothing, Gary, for a whole session, and we'd be just fine. We could take a year off or a whole term off, and you know what? North Dakota is going to be just fine. The government has plenty of money. The people are doing just fine. But no, it's because we want to dream with their money. That Burgum started that. Let's dream together. No, you don't dream with other people's money. Sorry, you dream with your own money. If you have a business, dream.
I think to your point is when Burgum came in, I think somebody told me one of the department heads on this show made the comment that Burgum said, dream big, come in with big ideas. He's talking to the bureaucracy.
Yeah.
Come in with big ideas and let's put it into the budget. Let's fight it out.
Yeah.
Ed Schaefer used to say, okay, I want you to scale that back to 90% of what you're spending and let's see what you're going to do with it.
Yeah.
That mindset has been gone for 30 years.
We need Calvin Coolidge.
Those guys were all big spenders. I'm sorry.
And one of Kelly Armstrong's phrases is, I want to restore faith in the government. And I'm telling you, in my view, no, we need as little of faith in the government as possible. Only as much as we can tolerate, that we absolutely have to. And fighters will come in with that and they'll fight ridiculously to get down to that. And everybody will be uncomfortable, but also everybody will be better off.
So you got 1 minute before we wrap up. We're going to go to Jake Schmidt. So what thought do you want to leave? You're running for re-election. That's awesome. We're glad to have you in there. What is the thought you want to leave with the viewers on Open Reign?
The election is where it matters. Please look for fighters and send them down. We need 18 more in the House. And by fighters, we need people who understand going in that believe the government's too big and they want to shrink it. That is way too big. Not just like an oops, wait till payday. We're way fat and we figured out how to get more gravy. And once you figure out how to do that, you just keep doing it. And we have to stop the bleeding and we have to ask better questions. What's the role of our government? That would be what I'd want to leave.
That you want to leave. And the other thing that I'd like to leave in people's mind, that we spend $100,000, $20 billion for a family of 4 in North Dakota per family of 4, and we've gone from 27 in 15 years to 100.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, they're on their way to 150. It's just like a federal deficit, totally out of control.
For sure.
I appreciate you coming down. Anytime you want to come back on, thanks for announcing your thing on the show.